The Israeli military trading gunfire with Hamas terrorists in northern Gaza. The defense minister says Hamas has lost control of the Gaza Strip. Israeli forces now say they have the proof that Hamas is using hospitals, even a children's hospital, to hide a vast network of underground tunnels housing a terror command center. They're trying to protect their leadership. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says this war will decide the fate of how far more than just for Israel.
We have to win to protect Israel. We have to win to safeguard the Middle East. We have to win for the sake of the civilized world. That's the battle we're fighting, and it's being waged right now. There's no substitute for that victory. If we don't win now, then Europe is next, and you're next, and we have to win.
Israel has released new video from an underground look at a pediatric hospital specializing in cancer treatment. So the terrorists have gone underground beneath this very large hospital to protect themselves. It apparently shows how the terrorists used it as a base to store grenades, assault rifles, rockets. There were also some signs that maybe some of the hostages had been held there.
I want you to see this room. It's in the basement of the hospital. We can see this area is a closed area from the rest of the hospital. We can see the ventilation air that was done improvisedly to this area. And we can see infrastructures that was built in here, toilets, shower, a small kitchen, will provide the terrorists their needs. Also conduct a hideout where terrorists take hostages and hide out.
Despite evidence that Hamas terrorists likely use patients and staff as human shields, as I previously mentioned, President Joe Biden is calling on Israel to show restraint.
It's my hope and expectation that there will be less intrusive action relative to the hospital. There is an effort to take this pause to deal with the release of prisoners. And that's being negotiated as well with the Qataris that are engaged. And so I remain somewhat hopeful, but the hospital must be protected.
The New York Post editorial board with this blistering headline: "Stop pretending hospital peril is all on Israel, Joe," and call out Hamas's central role in endangering civilians. In Focus now, let's begin with Pete Hegseth, co-host of Fox and Friends Weekend. Pete, great to see you today. Just first of all, your reaction to the call by the president for Israel to better protect the people that Hamas terrorists are using as human shields.
Well, that's the same guy in Joe Biden who, I don't know, about 7 minutes ago on our channel live was giving a speech, or just moments ago, saying that climate change is the single greatest threat that we face. It's the existential threat to humanity. This is the viewpoint of the guy charged with backing up our biggest ally, who's at war with an enemy who savagely massacred civilians 6 weeks ago. So I hope Bibi Netanyahu takes the call, hears him out, and then does what he needs to do. Because ultimately, Hamas is at fault for every single aspect of this, to include all the civilians stuck in the hospital underneath the command center. So they don't want to kill civilians. So if they can get them out to get at the Hamas leadership, they will do that. But Israel doesn't need to apologize for having superior technology, superior weaponry, and superior fighters in taking back Gaza. And they need to eradicate every last one of those Hamas fighters. Going through the hospital will be part of what they need to do. It's unfathomably complicated, but we don't need our president complicating it even more by trying to dictate basically Hamas talking points to Bibi Netanyahu and Israelis while they're a part of one of the most difficult ground sieges you can conceive of.
Well, what you pointed out, too, is that Hamas would love for somebody else to sort of tap Israel on the shoulder and tell them to sit down. I mean, that's not just a talking point. That's a goal.
That's their strategy.
Of those hostage-taking
That's their strategy.
killers. Absolutely.
That's why they want ceasefires and pauses.
Yes.
They believe condemnation from the international community will be their savior. And if Joe will lead it, well, then even better off for him.
Wow, they have a new king in that, right? Let's talk just a little bit about the hostages, if we can. And, you know, part of the video that was just shown to us, and some of that was narrated by, you saw that Israeli soldier on the ground. Part of that was where we think some hostages had been held. How big are those tunnels? And we've heard 300 miles long, but now you've got to talk, they can hold supplies for even the hostages we pray.
Oh, yeah, these are not, I mean, we show the stock footage of the tunnels that I've been in, which are meant to transport fighters into Israel and around Gaza. This is a underground city, if what's reported is correct, and we have no reason to believe it isn't, because Israel has great human intelligence and understanding of a lot of these tunnels. It's hundreds and hundreds of miles of command and control facilities underneath that entire city, many of which they've already found. So this is just the tip of the iceberg, and finding every aspect of those webs is nearly impossible unless you control the ground eventually above, which Israel is trying to do right now. I pray for these hostages. I pray that the Americans, everyone there, that this pressure campaign by Israel puts Hamas in such a tenuous situation that they have to make a massive trade in order to save their hides or buy some time, and that those hostages come out. Because Israel can't grovel on Hamas's terms. They need to bring Hamas to their knees, force them to a moment where these hostages are given up. I pray for them. I pray that strategy works, because that's one of those variables in all of this that are really difficult to calculate.
100%. Pete, I'm going to ask you to stand by and be on the other side of a report that's coming up. Would love to talk with you about this. Let's go right now to Alex Hogan, who is on the ground in northern Israel. Alex.
Hi, Harris. We have heard sirens really across the country today, and at least one person was wounded just in the last several hours in Tel Aviv, which is in central Israel. But here in the north, we've continued to see airstrikes coming from Lebanon and Hezbollah. This was the scene earlier today. We could see some of the smoke rising on the hillside. That is the border of Israel and Lebanon. Hezbollah launched anti-tank missiles here on northern Israel. Israeli fighter jets quickly responded. And it was last night when the IDF released this footage from a hospital basement where it appears some hostages were being held. The IDF also released footage of what it says is a cache of weapons that it found there. Hamas says that it could release 70 hostages through negotiation for a 5-day ceasefire. The IDF continuing to press forward, saying that in the last day, it took over the parliamentary building in Gaza City, raising the Israeli flag there. Now, with major protests taking place around the world demanding a ceasefire, those pressures are really being felt here on the ground. Israeli Foreign Minister Alex Hogan made a statement that the military here probably only has about 2 to 3 weeks before it gives in to the international pressure. Well, those comments did not go over well here in Israel. He quickly took his statement back. But we have heard from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu saying that once Hamas is defeated, Israel will control the security for an indefinite period of time. We talked with an aide to the former Prime Minister, who argues that there's a lot of demands internationally, but there's no suggestion about what should happen.
Nobody wants to rule Gaza as long as Hamas is still standing on its feet. I don't think that we have limitless time in terms of international support. I do think that eventually there will be a pressure for a ceasefire.
Meanwhile, for now, as the IDF continues to press forward in northern Gaza, the IDF says that it's taken control of a Hamas control center as well as the police headquarters there. Harris.
Alex, great information there. Great reporting as always. Stay safe. Thank you very much. I want to bring back Pete Hegseth. So, Pete, you and I were just watching together. I had seen this in Reuters, and now Alex Hogan is talking about it as well. Apparently some conversation around, wouldn't want to call it a negotiation at this point, I suppose, but Hamas could release 70 hostages for a 5-day ceasefire. Now, that's not all of the hostages that we know of, and we don't know how many would be Americans. What do you think about it?
Well, we know that's kind of been the parameters of what Hamas has been bargaining through Qatar from the beginning, is how many people for how much time? How many people for how much time? In fact, at the beginning, it was, oh, we want to release 2 for a day pause. Well, now it's up to 70 for 5 days. That ratio is getting better for the Israelis.
What does that tell you?
What that tells me is they aren't in control of Gaza, and they know the Israeli army is surrounding them, and they know first of all, they have human shields in the hospital, and now they have hostage shields. And so they're trying to up the ante of the amount of time that they get with those, but their leverage is going down. And so Israel has to press hard enough to where they get all the hostages or close to all of them for whatever period of time, but doesn't give enough time that Hamas leadership and others are able to flee with a pause. And so now you've defeated your underarching goal, which is the destruction of Hamas, because they will use this pause for their own military means. And that's the impossible calculation here.
Well, and the impossibility of being able to run away fast enough from the hostage-taking killers in order to really see freedom. They might let them go. Would they shoot them in the back as they run away? I mean, there's just so much to calculate in all this. They're basically now, though, losing leverage, as you said, and negotiating against themselves. That can go two ways. They can continue to do that, and Israel makes ground with them and against them and for the hostages, or they implode.
And you cannot underestimate the amount of leverage that Iran has in this equation. What is Iran telling Hamas to do? Do they want them to be martyrs for the cause? Do they want them to ultimately execute these prisoners unless they can't get a certain amount of leverage out of it? Hamas has said they want a wider war. And that's why when we can make too much of, you fight them. That might be. You can make too much of what Bibi Netanyahu said, which is if we don't beat them, then you don't beat. Where that is true is that if Iran gets a nuclear bomb in this context, then this is not just Israel's problem, it's our problem. And so Israel needs to do what it can to bring Iran to its knees in that context.
Excuse me, I want everybody to look at their screen. We have rocket fire now on the Israel-Gaza border. Can you see this? There are a number of flashes. There was a flare that was sent up. And Trey Yingst and Mike Tobin have taught us that when those flares go up, they're trying to decide or determine who's firing on them. So they light up the area where, some of the firing is coming from. Let's stop talking for a second. Can we listen? So this is the hour, and of course we're daylight savings time, so it's even a little bit darker now during this hour, but this is the hour each day where darkness does begin to fall. It's already fallen now. They obviously don't observe daylight savings time like the rest of the world. But what this means is that we will continue at this hour as the war goes on to see more and more of this. Pete, they are hitting them hard.
Absolutely they are. At this point, much of Gaza is dark because of the responsibility of Hamas. They have created this war, deprived basic necessities of their people, brought war onto the Gaza Strip, and Israel is waging that war with planes and munitions that can see through that darkness, that can hit those targets and identify fighters in that darkness. And that darkness is the advantage of the Israelis. You've noticed, Harris, there hasn't been as much rocket fire coming out of Gaza, thank God, into the Israeli population in the last couple of weeks and days, because their capabilities have been severely diminished. They are in panic mode. And as a result, Israel can control the night in ways that are advantageous militarily for them, protecting their infantry troops as best they can, who are, again, going through civilian populations and trying to hit military targets as well.
Control the night. Those are very specific words that you've chosen. There will never be necessarily an element of surprise in the scenario because everyone knows that they are surrounded at this point, Hamas terrorists. But the nightfall is really where they hit those targets with more efficiency. That's what I've heard you and others say.
No doubt. Anything moving at night is an enemy combatant. Targets you've identified throughout the day as you've surveilled movements of troops and equipment become targets at night. And ultimately, you can pre-position ground troops with night vision devices and others that, Hamas is going to have some of that supplied by Iran, no doubt, but Israel's going to have the overwhelming advantage of the ability to see at night. And so a lot happens while our cameras can't see it for the good guys trying to take out Hamas in the Gaza Strip.
Our reporter, Alex Hogan, moments ago got us to start talking about Hamas and some talks. You mentioned Qatar might be, from the beginning, you said, has kind of been trying to figure out where Hamas would be releasing hostages for what? Well, now they say maybe release 70 hostages for maybe a 5-day ceasefire. But when you look at controlling the war, does that make them more desperate? We don't know.
That's a fair point, Harris. That's a very fair point. The other one is Qatar is, they're housing the leadership of Hamas, so they're not fair arbiters here. You're dealing with double players. But that's the thought, and that's going to be a discussion inside Israel, is they've been so degraded in Hamas. Do we take that moment to get those hostages out, take that pause, and then continue our offensive? And that's the kind of decision that leadership have to make.
Pete Hegseth, thank you so much, as always, in focus, both bringing us your experience as a former warrior yourself. We appreciate it. Thank you.